Hello everyone, I'm Wendy Monk. I'm Director of Regulation and Compliance at Wave, and today I'm going to talk you through a number of questions and answers that we've received in relation to the most recent price setting process, PR24, and the implications for pricing for customers. So I'm going to start with the first question, which is how does the price review process work in the water industry? In summary, every 5 years, wholesalers are required to put together detailed business plans, which they submit to Ofwat. These include the proposals of what they intend to deliver, how much they will spend, and how they expect it to impact on bills. These business plans are submitted to Ofwat, and Ofwat then undertake detailed assessments in which they challenge the cost estimates in order to get the best possible outcomes for customers. Draft decisions, or determinations as they're known, are issued initially, and these really are the first indication of Ofwat's assessment of the business plans. Wholesalers then have the opportunity to respond in detail before Ofwat makes its final decisions, and implementation begins in the following April. Now, the final decisions include annual price limits for each of the 5 years, and they determine how much revenue can be recovered each year, and therefore how much each company can charge its customers. These are coupled with performance targets for deliverables, and these deliverables reflect customer priorities. For PR24, the largest price increases are typically in year 1. Thereafter, throughout the remainder of the 5-year period, wholesalers are required to deliver their obligations with incentives to outperform and penalties if schemes are not delivered, with the funding returned to customers through lower bills. This ensures that customers only pay for the efficient costs of meeting requirements. The second part of that question is, as customers, are we allowed to have a say in how the business plans are put together by the wholesalers? So the answer is yes, absolutely. In fact, a key element of the business plan process is to include customer engagement, and wholesalers have to demonstrate that they've engaged with their customers and that the business plans address customer needs, including priorities and preferences, and that these have been taken into account. Now, this is typically achieved through customer research projects, which include things like surveys and interviews. This time around, Ofwat also hosted a number of virtual public meetings, which enabled attendees to directly question and challenge water companies. Now, it's a little early to know what will happen for PR29 in terms of customer engagement, but based on what happened this time around, we would expect customer engagement to be underway during 2028-2029. The next question is the final determination figures that have been released. While the prices stated some of the highest price increases we've seen in recent years. Well, that reflects a step change in the level of investment needed to improve service performance that customers expect, ensure supplies for the future, and meet the environmental requirements through delivering cleaner rivers and cleaner seas. Investment over the next 5 years is 4 times higher than that over the previous 5-year period, just to give you an idea of scale, and that's £104 billion. 90% of that investment reflects legal requirements. And these 5-year plans are set within the context of 25-year strategies to reflect the long-term nature of investment, to reflect long-term uncertainties. Now, the next part of that question is, what will the extra money generated from price increases be spent on? Well, firstly, across the whole industry, 24 billion will be spent on improving the environment. So that includes £12 billion on delivering nearly 3,000 storm overflow projects to reduce spills by 45%. It will include upgrading over 1,700 wastewater treatment plants to help reduce pollution. And it will improve or protect over 15,000 kilometres of rivers. It will expand the use of nature-based solutions with £3 billion of green schemes. So these are things like natural drainage solutions instead of concrete and steel solutions. And it will include getting on track to meet net zero targets by 2050. £12 billion will be spent on protecting water and wastewater systems. So that includes things like 9 new reservoirs, progressing 9 large-scale water transfer projects, moving water to resolve drought issues and reduce water being taken from sensitive areas. It would deliver 374 million extra litres of water supply per day by 2030. It will reduce leakage by 17%. It will roll out 10 million new smart meters to support improved consumption data and the ability to identify leaks more quickly and easily. It will triple the rate of replacing water mains, replacing over 8,000 kilometres of water mains. It will maintain and improve drinking water quality. It will reduce sewer flooding by 27%. And it will ensure better customer service. So through rewards and penalties to improve performance, such there are fewer interruptions and therefore fewer complaints. Now, each of the wholesalers have been asked to provide a summary of key areas of expenditure and benefits, which are available on wholesaler websites. The next question is, do the wholesalers have other factors that can be taken into account with price increases, inflation as an example? So the final decision include annual price limits for each of the 5 years, and these determine how much revenue can be recovered within each year. The annual price limits are the key factors which you may have heard of, and each year each wholesaler sets its charges across all of its customers so that the total revenue it receives does not breach the revenue control for that year. However, the individual charges to different classes of customers can move around within that overall revenue control. So what that means is that customers may see price increases of individual charges, but overall across all charges, wholesalers are not able to put up their pricing within the 5-year period beyond that agreed by Ofwat. Inflation is applied on top of price limits, and that's consumer price inflation, including housing costs or CPIH inflation. Each year, the relevant index in the November is applied. For this year, I believe it was 3.5%. Between the years, then there can be adjustments for performance. So that might be over and under performance, and there can be adjustments for over and under recovery in previous years. The next question is, if a business plan has been determined for 5 years, do we know upfront the price increases for years 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, or do we only get to find out the final price increases each financial year? Yeah, so each financial year, prices are calculated in accordance with the annual price limits set for the 5-year period. There are adjustments between years, as I just alluded to, so price increases are not known upfront for the 5 years and only become available each financial year. The next question is, it has been announced that 6 wholesalers have appealed their final determinations. What does this mean? When will the appeals be held and decided upon? Are the wholesalers looking to increase their charges even more than what was originally signed off? Okay, so 6 wholesalers have requested a referral to the Competition and Markets Authority, or the CMA, for a redetermination of their business plans for 2025 to 30. Those wholesalers are Anglian, Northumbrian, South East, Southern, Thames and Wessex Water. And that's because those wholesalers have been unable to accept the final decisions made by Ofwat. And therefore, the CMA will undertake a similar exercise to Ofwat and review each of the business plans and come to their own decisions. The CMA has 6 months in which to do that, although this can be extended by a further 6 months if necessary. And in essence, yes, the wholesalers are seeking additional funding to deliver what they consider is required to meet their obligations and what customers have asked for. Any appeal will not impact bill increases announced for the 2025-26 billing year. And if the CMA ultimately makes any changes to the final determinations and set different price limits, these will be reflected in bills in subsequent years and they will apply to all customers. The final question is, how can these price increases be justified when the water companies have historically paid out large dividends to shareholders and big bonuses to CEOs? Well, that's really for wholesalers to explain rather for Wave as a retailer. However, what I can say is that Ofwat has tightened up the rules around dividend payments and bonuses. Now that concludes the questions and answers that I have for you today. If you do have further questions, then please do reach out to your Wave contact and we'll be very happy to respond and provide you with the support you need. I hope that was useful to you today and many thanks for listening.